Hey folks, hey folks, Ryder here, and you can see the silhouette of me and my phone, and we're going to split this hive. This is Carlisle, and Carlisle is going to become 2 hives today, and I believe the second hive will actually be called, wait for it, let's go with Jason. Yeah, this is going to be Jason. Or Jacob? Oh God, that's really bad. Yeah, it's going to be Jacob. So I'm going to get my smoker going, and then I'm going to see if I can adjust this a little bit here. That's better. You can just watch the activity for about 2 or 3 minutes here. Tons of activity at every single one of the hives. And let's take a look right over here. So that is the hive I created. That small nook box is the hive I created just a few days ago. And with the activity that's going on there, I'm quite certain that the queen that I placed in there is a valid queen, that she has gone out and mated and maybe actually laying eggs. If she's not already laying eggs, she should be in the next couple of days. So I got to get my suit on. Right now, I'm suitless, and the bees are buzzing. And I'm going to grab my smoker. And I think I already have a hive tool right here. So got my suit on. And I got a good pair of readers that aren't going to fall off my head. And there's my hive tool. So I am going gloveless. And that's because I want to be able to handle things carefully. And I might get stung in the hand because of that. And that's just the risk that I'm willing to take for your entertainment. So I'm going to grab the smoker, and we're about a minute or 2 away from being able to go in that hive. So I've also grabbed some frames, and those will help us to replace any frames that we might pull out, because we are going to move some things around. And it actually feels like I have a bee up inside my leg right now. And I do, and it just stung me. Son of a gun, before I even start, I got a bee in my pant leg. And it's a burner, darn it. Hate it when that happens. All right. I got my smoker going. I am going to be using this material along with what I normally use. So I'm using this material for smoker. And I'm not a huge fan of it, but I'm going to give it a try and see if I can become a fan of this material. Partially because I got some for free, and so kind of wanting to utilize the stuff I got for free. So We'll see if I can get it going. Well, so far, still not a fan of this stuff. I'm going to let an open flame burn on it for a few minutes, or a minute. And hopefully that gets it going a little better. Now, to give you some background on this hive, this is probably the strongest hive in my apiary right now, and it started off as a cutout and a swarm that I collected. You know, sorry for an additional delay, but I just ran this through the washing machine, and one of the zippers is not connected. So I have to reconnect this zipper, because it does no good to wear a suit to protect yourself if the zippers aren't working. Ah! How frustrating. I wish I was streaming this part because you guys could all be giggling. I assume there's 1 or 2 people watching or listening or both. And another bee is already trying to get in my suit. All right. So I do not have my helping hands here. I don't see them anywhere. And I'm not sure where I last used them. But what we're going to do to start is move this away from here. And that red bottom board over there is going to get a box set on top of it, and that's where we're going to be moving these bees to. So I must have taken that other box back out of the rain. So let me grab one. All right, so here is the new box. Oddly enough, it happens to be a different color than the one sitting right next to it, so that's helpful. And I'm going to start by getting some things set up in here that'll be useful. Yeah, this sting on my leg is really burning. So it probably hit a nerve. All right. So I'm just going to take this super off the top. I believe there is no queen excluder in here. So I'm just going to set that off to the side. And this is our top box. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to steal resources from this. And I'm also, if there's any frames of brood here, I'm going to go ahead and add those to the box. And I'm going to be shaking nurse bees in. So let's give them a little more smoke. And yeah, I'm just not a fan of this material. So I apologize. I'm actually going to go get something that I'm a fan of. So this is a Starbucks cup holder. That's what I'm going to use for smoking my bees. So I'm actually using a combination of that cotton with wood chips in it and the cup holder. And this is what a smoker is supposed to do. So there, I'm going to smoke all these bees down. Look at that. Look at them run. And I'm also covering up their ability to smell alarm signals. So I'm going to set this just down below it, and that way it will continue to drift smoke up towards it somewhat. And let's go ahead and put my lighter away and take the hive tool and start inspecting. And the beauty of my new apiary setup is that I can walk behind the hive, so I'm not standing in front of the entrance when I'm working on it. So that's what I've done. I've moved over here. I'm going to start this edge frame, and normally I don't pull out the very first frame, but I am pulling out this one because there's nothing in it. And I'm just going to go ahead and set this blank frame into this hive with these workers on it. I'm going to start sliding frames over. And here's a bunch of workers on this one. And I'm actually going to shake these down in. So I'm going to set it down inside the box, give it a shake. And then I can just set it aside for right now. Now this next frame is drawn out really quite nicely with a ton of brood on it and pollen and honey. This is a gorgeous pattern. I see all kinds of great stuff in there. So what I really want to do is make sure the queen is not on this. And there is everything I want here, from eggs to wet larva to capped brood to nectar to pollen. Everything is on this to make a successful hive split. I do not see a queen on here. That's okay. I don't need her on here. Well, I've determined that I need to replace the elastic in the bottom of this suit, just like I did in the top of this suit, because I just got stung on the other leg. So the bees are getting up into my pant legs, and then once they get crushed in there, they have really no choice but to sting me. All right, so on the next one, I'm seeing some drone cells, but I don't see any queen cups, but that's okay. And again, just awesome, awesome. The queen in here is doing such a fabulous job. In fact, I see every single element on this one as well as the last one. So this one's going to go into this hive as well. And I'm going to continue to look in this box. I'm going to look in this box for queen cells or other items that I want. Wow. How about laying thousands of eggs a day, this queen is. This is just amazing. Absolutely amazing. That is the most wonderful sight for a beekeeper. That's just absolutely amazing. In fact, they hadn't even finished drawing this out. You can see this one space right here in the middle where they have not even finished drawing it out, and yet she laid this entire frame. So that one's going in that hive as well. So far, sorry for the frog in my throat. So far, I have 3 frames of brood in there. So I'm probably going to pull out one of these blanks because I might go as many as 2 more. Now, I could have done a naked walk-away split just by taking this box off, but I want to do a thorough inspection as well. So I'm almost tempted to put my gloves on. All right, another beautiful frame. Lots of drones on this one. That's okay. Those will work as warmers to keep this hive warm. So again, I do not see the queen in here. Because I smoked it, most likely she went down into the bottom box, but there's no queen excluder on it. So she could be in that medium box that was on top as well. So I'm just giving a good look. I believe Carlisle is not painted, or if she is, and her name's Carla, if Carla is painted, she would be red. I don't remember if we painted her or not. So I'm really liking this frame as another one to go in there. So we are down to needing just one more frame. And the only way I'll be switching these out or adding any more frames is if I see queen cells. So I'm going to go ahead and give these girls a little smoke. A little smoke at the entrance as well. Just keep them calm. Keep them calm and keep them from sending alarm signals. And as long as I move nice and slow, they shouldn't be coming out to attack my hands. I mean, I don't want to spend a ton of time in here, All right, so this is just a lot of honey. And again, some brood, tons and tons of brood on here. And pollen. Looking to see if I see any eggs. I do see wet larvae. I don't see eggs, but that's okay. This one's actually going to stay here. For now, that one's staying here. It's not to say I won't split it or do something else with it. Okay, so here's a really good example. Lots of workers on here. It's a blank frame that they're drawing out comb. They're creating wax with their wax glands. So this is a good bunch of bees to add to that other hive. And then I'm just going to put this frame back in here. Just added the workers. The foragers will come flying back, but all those workers are going to stay in there. That bee was not happy with me. That bee was very aggressive on my hand. Okay, so I'm not seeing any brood on this at all. So this is just another bunch of good workers I can add to this and resources. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to put in this frame that's partially drawn out and just add it to this box. Let them start rebuilding. And same thing with this one. There's a little bit of mold on it, not enough to worry about. These bees will clean it up. So I'm going to put that in there and give them some drawn out comb. And then I'm also going to just put in a brand new blank one right here. I'm kind of doing what they call a checkerboard pattern. And this next one's drawn out nicely. Lots of bees on it and lots of nectar. So I'm going to continue my checkerboard pattern. So what I've done is every other frame has something on it. And I'm putting blanks in the blank spots. So I'm going to add another blank frame next to that one. And while I'm in the next box, I may move some stuff up from down below. I'm just going to set this over here for right now, and I'll go ahead and smoke down this box. So far, I've set up everything in that hive that we need for them to create their own queen. However, while I'm in this box right now, if I see any queen cells, I will transfer them to that. So this first frame, when I take it out, because it's an edge frame, it's most likely just going to have nectar and pollen on it. So I'm going to add that to the top of this one. Just moving them around a little bit. Now there's some people that'll tell you put things back the way they are. That's true as much as possible, but when you're doing a hive split, you're moving things around an awful lot. So this actually has fondant. So Carlisle was one of the ones that used fondant the most. And since this is halfway drawn out and it's got some fondant in it, I'm going to put this along the edge of this one. So I'm almost filled up this top box completely. I can actually add another blank one to that top box, and I may find it over here. In fact, I think this is blank. Yep, it's completely blank. So I'm going to put this in the top box. Now I have a complete checkerboard pattern in there. So every other frame is blank, and every other frame has some sort of resources on it. So here we have a blank, and then a partially drawn out frame, and then a blank, and then this one is blank, but it's got some wonky stuff going on it. So I'm not seeing any brood yet in this bottom chamber, but that's okay. I'm going to actually shake these bees into this hive. is I'm really trying to build it up. And I also wanted them off of there because I'm going to remove this wonkiness. So the way I do that is just make sure the bees are out of the way and then move slowly and gently, and I'm just removing that. They're building it sideways. They're building wild comb rather than building it to match like that one there is properly done to match it. I'm not saying they're doing it wrong. I'm just saying they're doing it a way that makes it less manageable. So I'm going to put this blank frame back in where it was. So we're once again creating that checkerboard pattern. Now the next frame has a lot of bees on it, and so part of me thinks that this has probably got brood on it. We'll know in just a moment, won't we? And there we go, lots of brood. There's certain things you learn over time. Now, see that little set of cells down there at the bottom that aren't drones or not queen cells? They're just regular size, but I'm going to leave that on there for a ladder. I'm just going to leave that right here in this hive. And it's a ladder, which makes it easier for the bees to climb up. And I'm going to set that right next to the blank frame. And most likely, I'm going to put in another blank frame right here. So I got 2 more frames in this top section to inspect. Yeah, big bunch of drones right in the middle there, feeding themselves. And just a lot of nectar on this one. So this one's staying in here. And I'm going to move it over towards the edge somewhat. One last frame to inspect. And we got some wonky stuff on here. It's not a lot, not enough that I want to shake this off. And I think I have enough in that other hive for the split. Yeah, you know what? I want to clean the wonkiness off. I have OCD somewhat. So I'm going to go ahead and let me show you what I'm doing by turning the camera over this way and double checking. Yeah, you can see I'm going to lower this frame into the box and then give it a good shake so I get most of the bees in the box. Ready? Then the second time I'm actually going to hold it above and knock the rest off. And there's a queen cup on there. So I wish I had looked first. I wish I had noticed there was a queen cup on it. I'm actually going to put this in that hive because it's got a queen cup on it. Now, I may have actually just shaken an egg out of there, but I don't think so. I think I see that there's no royal jelly, so they haven't actually placed one in there yet. But look at all this beautiful pollen. And I'm going to go ahead and scrape that wonk off. And I'm going to put this in there because it's got a queen cup. And I'm going to move it over. So I'm going to slide multiple frames over. Because what I want to do is have that queen cup near the center. I want it to be in an area that is going to be kept warm. Because obviously warmth is important. I'm going to put it in here very carefully to make sure I don't damage it and set them back a couple days in work. And there we go. It's in there. So there's one queen cup in there. Let's continue to look for queen cups over here. Oh, we're done. That's right. We're done with this one. So what I'm going to do is grab a couple more blank frames. And my plan was not to completely set up this hive, but that's the beauty of working with bees is you can alter your plans midstream when you find something different to deal with. So I'm trying to move this as carefully as possible to not crush any of the girls. Come on, let's move out of the way. There we go. I'm going to slide this frame over. Come on, girls, let's move. And that was a girl dying. Now that's what we don't want because that can sometimes make girls angry. So I'm going to give them some smoke. Yeah, For some reason, they're really congregating right there, so I'm going to smoke them down and away, and then I'll move it over gently. Come on, girls, out of the way. Good deal. So far we've just lost one. This is not how to behave, but I just didn't like that one on my arm. Okay. So chances are that the queen is in the super. So I'm going to put 3 blank frames in here, and then put the second super on there. And basically I'm setting this hive up to be split again. So let me go grab either 3 drawn out frames or some blank frames for that. So I'm just going to pop all 3 of these in here, not doing any more checkerboarding. I'd have to pull one back from one of those other hives. And my guess is going to be that there's going to be a bunch of brood and a queen in my medium box up here. There we go. So there's only a couple girls there, so I'm not worried about squishing anybody. I'm going to set this on diagonally and then just pivot it over, and that usually avoids crushing any girls. We're going to go ahead and inspect this right where it sits. So, hi Brandy, hi Courtney, hi Kathy. Thank you all for coming to visit. Don't know if you're still here or not, but looks like some other questions. Yeah. Hi Anastasia. Hey Mike. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them here, and I'll come back and take a look periodically and try to answer the questions, or I can always message you later to answer the questions. And I appreciate questions. There is no stupid questions. Okay, so I'm just going to take this lid off of here for right now and move it over here. It's not a cold day, but this should keep things calmer over there right now. I'm not going to smoke this down because I want to see the queen. So right now, these girls may get a little testy. In fact, I got a couple hitting on my hand right now, which is making me want to put my gloves on. Or should I go ahead and keep going and possibly risk a sting to entertain you folks when I use curse words? Am I allowed to curse during live streams? Does anybody know the answer to that? I'll just use words like fluff it. All right. So on this frame, I have a bunch of drawn out comb, and I have what I call rainbow pollen. And I'm going to try to angle this back and forth a little bit. There's orange and yellow and green and white and even some pink in here. A lot of the yellow has a green tinge. So I'm going to gently set this down on top of the hive. And the reason I'm doing it gently is I don't want to crush anybody. And I also just don't want to disturb them. Now I have room to move around in here. So I'm going to go back to the end frame and take a look at it first. And like it should be, there's a lot of nectar, tons of nectar. So nectar is from the flowers and it's uncapped. So they're still dehydrating it. So it's not honey yet. And there is no queen on this frame. So I'm going to continue. All right, so I've already got some brood, and I've got a bunch of wet larvae, and more brood and wet larvae, so I'm going to take a little more time to inspect for a queen on here. It's highly probable that we will see her in this top box as I guessed because of what I'm seeing in here right now. So let me go ahead and show you this. Not sure how good the sun is, but I'll wiggle it around. You can see white shiny stuff in those cells that aren't capped. That is wet larvae, and the worker bees are still feeding them. And then you see the ones that are capped, that means that they're ready to metamorphosize into a bee. So they go from that little maggot looking thing in there. And there is a ton of wet larvae on this. About 40% of this frame is wet larvae. The rest is pollen and nectar. It's a beautiful pattern, to be honest with you. And I am going to gently put that back in and move to the next one. And again, I'm not smoking this because I don't want to get the queen moving around. I want her to be doing what she's doing, which is laying eggs. So we could see her any second now. And that's another beautiful pattern. The pollen was probably already there, so she's utilizing this. And I knocked all the queen cells out of this a week ago. And do you see that right there? That is 2 queen cups right there. And I'll be darned, that is a queen larva. So in this cell right here is a queen larva. I am going to put this in the other hive. I am not going to knock this down. I'm not going to hold it upside down like I just was doing. And this is the last one going into this other box. And I am going to put it right darn in the middle because there's a queen larva in there, a valid queen larva. And basically, as soon as that cell had been capped, this queen might have swarmed. Because that's when they swarm, is after they've created a new queen. So I'm really gently lowering this in here as to not roll any bees and so as to not damage that queen cup at all. Now, yes, that's a short frame. That's a medium frame. But I don't care. They can build some other stuff on that if they want to. But over in that box there, I have a queen larva. Absolutely saw her. She's in royal jelly. She's already the size, bigger than some of those wet larvae in there. I wish I had 2 cameras right now so I could take a macro shot of that, but I don't. So I think I have everything I need, but I'm going to continue. Now, I don't mind standing in front of the box I'm in front of right now, and I'm working on it because this is a recent split, so it's not real strong, so I'm not blocking a lot of bees off. And there we go, some more pollen, nectar, and baby bees. No queen cups, but there's some drones, a lot of drone cells on the bottom of this frame. So no queen cups here. We're going to go ahead and put that one back. And here we go. More brood, more drones, more nectar, more honey. Still no queen. You know, they can be elusive, they can hide. There's been a queen here. There's no doubt that there's been a queen here. Four more frames, folks. 4 more frames to inspect. And we've got some brood. Lots and lots of nectar, just about ready to be capped. I can even see the color change in it. So these bees are good collectors. These will be profitable honey-wise, which is not my goal, but it is a bonus side effect of my goal, which is to create new beekeepers and to help the bee population out. Lots of nectar on this one, not a lot of brood. I'm going to go ahead and put that right there. And let's see if the next one is going to be all honey and nectar, or if there's going to be more brood on this one. And it is all honey and nectar and a little bit of pollen. Just a ton of nectar. Wow. So part of me would like to put a queen excluder on this, but I don't know which box she's in yet. And I may not know today. She may even be in the box that I moved the queen cups to, and I just missed her. So you can see what they're doing here. They're just drawing out comb right now. Look along the edges there. And this looks like a frame that I harvested honey from with the crush and strain method. And then I gave it back to him to give him some nectar or honey that was left on it. So that's the last frame I have to inspect here. I'm going to leave that on the edge. I'm going to go ahead and put this one back in. That's called festooning. See how they're hanging on there? And there she is. There's our girl. There's our girl right there. You got to be able to see that. She is painted red. So that's Carla. That's Carla, and she's just a magnificent machine. Look at her going along looking for some place to lay eggs, and because the sun's not shining on her, she's not racing over to the other side of the... So I'm going to gently put her back in this box. There we go. There's our queen. She was actually on the very first frame I took out of this top super. So I need to grab a medium frame. I have one right here. Hey, I was prepared finally. And so I'm going to put this in to replace the one that had those queen cups on it. I'm going to slide this frame over and put this on the edge. I am reducing the possibility of crushing Carla. So I'm going to put this in here. It's got some propolis on it, and it's literally scraping off. That was amazing. So that's propolis, and it scraped off as I did that. I'm going to move this over a little bit, give myself a small gap here of at least 1/8 of an inch. I got 1/8 of an inch on both sides. Makes it easier to work with this hive. So I'm going to put the lid on it. And I felt one bee, so I slowed down. This is going to go back on top of here, and I'm going to do the same thing again. Let me turn the camera. So I placed it on there diagonally, and then I'm going to slowly rotate it, and the bees will move out of the way. You're less likely to crush a bee this way. So that's a beautiful thing. That's a successful hive split, folks. So all I need to do is give that new hive some nectar, and by giving it nectar, it's going to encourage them to draw out wax on those blank frames. Let me go ahead and swivel this over here to this one. So I'm actually going to put a top feeder on this with nectar, and I'm going to steal that from another hive right now and put that on there, and then I'm going to cover it up, and that's it. We're done. So what we're going to look for is in about 16 days. Sorry, I was looking at two bees right here playing round and round the mulberry bush right here. So I am going to check back in this in about 16 days and see if I have a queen. The fact that there's a queen cup that's about ready to be sealed off means that for sure in 16 days I should have a hatched queen in there. So we'll come back and check that out. Does anybody want me to keep going? Is there anybody here that's still wanting me to keep going? Hi, Julie, if you're still here. Hi, Danny, if you're still here. Oh, so I can curse in a non-threatening manner. Now, what if I'm threatening bees? Can I threaten bees? I'm just teasing. So, I think I'm going to go ahead and look in this hive. I'm going to look in this this nook over here and see if I have a successful start. In order to do that, well, I'm going to go ahead and temporarily cover this other hive with a syrup feeder that I can actually use for feeding them with the jar, but I'm not going to. I'm going to transfer or set up a new top feeder for that. So let's adjust this camera a little bit more, and I'm going to look in this box. It's still warm enough, and I'd like to see what's going on in here. Anybody else want to see what's going on in it? I hope so. Give them a little smoke. Lift the lid and give them a little smoke. And then I'll just set it down right here again. Keep everybody in the area calm. And I'm going to take that lid off. Then I'm going to take the inner cover off. So this is a 4-frame nuke with a syrup feeder. And I'm going to start by loosening up the syrup feeder and pulling it out. And I may have to refresh this. I may give them some more. I may also just remove it. Okay, there's not much left in it. So either way, I'm either going to remove it or I'm going to add more. But I'm going to take a look at this box first before I make up my mind. Let's look at the next frame, or the first frame. So we have just a bunch of drawn out comb. So this is a frame that I gave them that was probably just drawn out, and they are putting nectar in it and pollen. So there are some foragers in here. And we're going to move along. I'm going to give them a little more smoke. This actually has a little hook, so you can hang it right on the box if you want to. And let's go ahead and gently lift this frame out. Now this frame was most likely full of brood, and now it's full of nectar. So these bees are just filling it up with nectar and pollen, and they don't have any brood in here right now. So every bit of brood that I put in here hatched out in the last week. So I'm looking at the next frame, and there we go. I have some brood still on this frame. Now that could be that it's not going to hatch. It's hard to say what's going on here. And there is a torn queen cup. So some queen hatched out of there. Or they murdered it because there was another queen in the box. I don't know yet. We will look at the last frame and determine what's going on with this hive. I may give this a hive bump. No, the question about cussing was community standards. So, I don't know if there's a queen in there or not. She could be out on a mating flight right now. I saw 2 torn down queen cells. So it's very possible that a queen hatched and killed her sister, because there was 2 queen cells in there. And she could be out mating right now, and it's possible I didn't see her. So I'm going to double check this hive, and then I'm going to pull a frame of brood out of another hive. I'm not really going to look real hard to see if there's any eggs in it, because I think there is a queen here. I just don't think we're seeing her. So I just want to give this colony a brood bump. I want them to have some fresh young brood to ensure that it stays strong. I don't want it to become a lane worker. So now I see why I got stung. When I set that frame down, I inadvertently killed that young lady. My apologies. Rest in love, young lady. I think that I like this frame. I'm going to leave that one in there. I'm going to slide the next one over after I inspect for a queen again. So I'm seeing on here the bees chewing out some other bees. And what that says to me is that some of these are not surviving. So at least these ones right here are not surviving. They're really dark, so they've gone past the point where they should hatch. And they're actually, their sisters are chewing them out to get them out of the hive to avoid any infections. So this one bee's just being a little biatch. There's a test for community standards. And there's those two queen cups, and they've both either hatched or been torn down. And then I see what looks like a queen cup right here with a larva in it. So I am going to put this in there, back in there, and I'm going to put another frame of brood just to keep this warm. So I'm putting this back right now, and temporarily I'm going to slide the next frame over to keep this warm. So maybe neither one of those queens were viable. Sometimes a queen will kill her sister before she leaves a hive. She'll doodle around the hive for 4 to 6 days before she goes out to mate. And there's my mockingbird. One of my mockingbirds flew away before I could turn the camera to it. But that mockingbird likes to eat spicy flying raisins. I would prefer that it ate the dead raisins on the ground, but that's not necessarily going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera around. Maybe you'll get to see that mockingbird when it comes back again. I'm going to go into I'm going to go into Esme right now, and I'm going to steal a frame of brood from Esme to support this hive over here. And yeah, I think that's the best option. So let me grab the smoker. So apparently that combination of that cotton and some Starbucks cups works really well. Gotta tell you, Esme is about, I don't think I have the camera on me. Let me check it out. Yeah, no, you can see it. So she's about tired of me going in and out of her. Double entendre, whatever. Here we go. I'm just going to open her up, give her some smoke. This, I'm probably going to get stung again, especially since this hand has been stung and my legs have been stung. The smell of venom is actually on me. Yeah, I'm sorry, Esme. I know. So this has a 2-year-old queen in it, and I know that because she is painted yellow. And great, there's some ants on here, which is going to make these bees a little testy. So I have to treat the legs of this for that. I am going to leave this box alone. I'm not stealing a short frame of brood. So, I'm going to set the upper chamber, and that's quite heavy. So most likely it has a lot of honey in it. I'm going to go super slow and gentle here because these bees are so tired of me going in and out. So I'm moving this one all the way over the wall, and then I'll pull out the second frame. And I do that because when you pull out the second frame in, and there's a bee on my darn hand, and that one was aggressive on my hand. That one was a millisecond away from stinging me. So here we go. Pulling out this frame, and there's nothing but pollen and nectar, and they're drawing it out nicely. And I'm just going to set that aside. Did I hear Judy? Hi, how are you? Yep, I'm over here streaming live while I do a hive split. Okay, that's enough. I'm going to get my gloves, folks. Yeah, like I said, Esme's not happy. I have to go get my gloves. All right, so my bee gloves had moved to a different location. So I've got these, not really protecting me much, but they'll be something. So let's take a look at the next frame. And we've got tons of drones, a complete frame of drones, both sides, 100% drones. And when I say drones, I'm talking about the brood on it. There's tons of workers on this, but the brood on this frame is almost entirely drones. I do not see any varroa mites on any of these drones, so that's really pleasing because the varroa mites tend to attack the larger bees first. So I'm going to set that frame back down in there. And what I'm looking for in this brood bump to that colony over there is a frame of regular bees. I don't want drones. I'm going to skip that one. And this has got some young brood. It's got a lot of pollen on it. And that's about it. Not enough for a brood bump. So I'm going to continue to slide things over. And again, tons of pollen. And there she is. There's our beautiful queen. And I apologize. She is 1 year old. Okay, white. White. It's white last year. No, white is 2 years ago. So did you get to see her there? She's right there. See her? So I'm going to leave her alone. I'm going to put this frame down and very gently slide it back over. I know my queen's on it, so the last thing I want to do is crush my queen, nice and slow. I mean, I'm moving at a snail's pace here. Closing the gap, there we go, we're done. That's it. So the next frame should be a nice frame full of brood right in the middle. And no, just a ton of pollen. And there's one of my things that I like. I'm going to move very slowly here. That's called festooning. See how they're hanging off the bottom? They're all clinging to each other. And what's on that side? Just a ton of nectar and pollen. So it's possible that all the brood is in the top box. And that's because I've already robbed this hive 3 times of brood. That's one of the reasons why Carlisle is the strongest in our colony, because I keep taking away from this curl. Alrighty then. There's some wonky comb on here, so I'm going to actually shake this one down, and these girls are going to get mad at me. So here's two more wonky things. I don't like that. Doesn't help hive management, so I'm going to remove those two. This one actually has some drone brood in it, so that's going to go to the chickens. That's a really nice treat for the chickens. We'll put that one back in there. Slide it over gently. Come on, girls, move, move, move. Why are you right in the line of fire? Move. Okay, I'm getting ghost stings at this point in time. I'm not getting stung, I just have imaginary ghost stings. And there we go. That's what I was looking for. A bunch of brood. I am going to leave all these workers on here too. So I'm sorry, Esme. I've just really run amok. But this is exactly what I want to put in there. There's a ton of brood on here and a bunch of workers. This shouldn't start too many fights because I believe all this stuff came out of Esme to begin with. So, spin it around. And we're going to go ahead and lower this frame in here nicely. We know that there is a queen cup on this next frame over. So I'm putting the brood next to that to keep it warm and keep it company. So that's it. Gentle, slide over. There we go. And now this frame here, I'm going to shake these bees off. There's not a lot, so I'm not worried about it. And then this is going to go back into Esme. And then I'm going to go ahead and put Esme back together. I'm not spinning the camera around for that. You can continue to watch that hive over there. I'm not going to inspect the top. I know there's a bunch of brood in this thing. So I'm just going to put this box back on and put it back together. So Esme's back together and I have molested her once again. So right now I'm going to put this on temporarily. This is the inner cover just to keep them warm. And this is interesting. There's a bee fanning and there's another bee fanning. So it's possible that the queen came back while we were here. That's not necessarily, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bees fanning. Now that could be because I just took bees from another hive and put them in there. But regardless, I kind of like it. I'm going to take this and I'm going to go fill it up with syrup and put it back in there. So this is I did a split and created this nuke, and I'm not 100% confident there's a queen in there from those 2 queen cells. So I've given it a frame of brood that may possibly give them another opportunity to create a queen. I also saw a queen cup in there that may give them a possibility. And now I'm going to give them some nectar, some sugar nectar that I get from KC, and she gets it from Man Lake. And that's just to give them extra energy, make it so they don't have to do as much foraging. And that's going to be it for today, folks. I would love to go on inspecting other hives here, but I actually need to go get a little bit more work done before the sun goes down. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it entertaining or educational or both. So that's it for now. Ryder out. Thank you everyone that watched my video today. And in case I forgot, I think it went well. Thank you, Anastasia. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, everybody else that was here earlier. I will go through these comments and I will answer any questions that were available, and I will take into account any constructive criticism from anyone. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Ryder out.